In recent years, a fresh wave of African Americans and African diaspora have fled the United States and other Western nations because of persistent racism and bigotry. Communities are forming in Ghana, Gambia, and Senegal, defying the traditional idea that Africa is a place that everyone wants to escape. Among the many visitors arriving in Africa, Ghana is the most popular place where these African Americans settle. But why is Ghana attracting so much attention and not the rest of Africa? Today's video will look at the circumstances that drew many African Americans to Ghana, as well as how the country rose to prominence as a paradise for the African diaspora. Before we continue, kindly take a moment to like this video, and also don't forget to subscribe. So, without further ado, let's get started. During the transatlantic slave trade, Ghana was historically a slave trading center. The Portuguese established the first permanent slave trading post of Amina on the Gold Coast, now Ghana, and the four-dimensional English, which handled 30,000 slaves each year by the 18th century. Between 1650 and 1900, 10.2 million enslaved Africans arrived in the Americas from the 8 slave trading regions of Africa, according to documented history. Around 80% of Africans enslaved and transported in the transatlantic slave trade passed through Ghana's castles and forts. This comes as no surprise since there are currently an estimated 40 slave castles, or large commercial forts, built on the Gold Coast of West Africa, now Ghana by European traders, which is the largest number found in any country in Africa. In 1957, Ghana became the first sub-Saharan African country to declare independence from the Europeans. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, one of the country's founding fathers, was a powerful Pan-Africanist who cleared the road for his country's independence from British authority. He was Ghana's first prime minister and president, having guided the country to independence from the United Kingdom in 1957. Nkrumah was a founder member of the Organization of African Unity and a powerful champion of Pan-Africanism. Nkrumah's Pan-Africanist journey began when he was studying overseas for 12 years, establishing his political ideology and networking with other Pan-Africanists. Nkrumah was influenced by Marcus Garvey du Bois, the socialist writings of German political philosopher Karl Marx, German political economist Friedrich Engels, and Russian revolutionary leader Vladimir Lenin while studying in the United States. He founded an African student club and became a well-known speaker who advocated for Africa's independence from European domination. His single-minded goal to make Africa the proud home of all peoples of African origin distributed over the world led him to collaborate with a number of Pan-Africanist leaders and builders, including W. Du Bois of the United States, George Padmore of Trinidad, and Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria. More than half a century ago, he was one of the organizers of the historic 5th Pan-Africanist Congress in Manchester, England, a congress that proved decisive in the struggle against foreign rule in Africa and racial oppression in the West, and which demonstrated remarkable unity between continental Africans and Africans in the diaspora. When he returned to the Gold Coast after his sojourns in America and England to head the independence movement, he not only brought Pan-Africanism to its natural home. If you are still watching this video, it means you support this movement. Hit the like button so that more people in the diaspora will know about this initiative by Ghana and even explore more nations in Africa. He also built and maintained a relationship between the continent and the diaspora till the end of his reign. After assisting Ghana in gaining independence from British rule, Nkrumah appointed Padmore as his counselor and invited Du Bois to spend his final days in Ghana. Africans in the diaspora were also invited to come to reside in Ghana and contribute to the development of the newly constituted African Republic. With Sékou Touré of Guinea, Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, and Patrice Lumumba of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Nkrumah attempted to establish the kernel of his pet fantasy, the United States of Africa. His previous leaders in Ghana continued his Pan-Africanism campaign after his death, and Ghana remains the focal point of Pan-Africanism in Africa. Among the most notable of these was the founding of the Pan-African Historical Theater Festival, also known as Panafest, in the mid-1980s, which was viewed by the late Sutherland as a cultural vehicle for bringing Africans on the continent and in the diaspora together around the issues raised by slavery, which is still oppressed. Ghana is home to the W.B. Du Bois Memorial Center for Pan-African Culture, which opened to the public in 1985 as a memorial research facility and tourist attraction. It is named and dedicated to Du Bois, an African-American historian and founding father of Pan-Africanist, will become a citizen of Ghana in the early 1960s. Ghana also hosts the Diaspora African Forum, a non-profit organization supported by the African Union that was founded on July 7, 2001 by former Ghanaian President John Kufuor. The Diaspora African Forum was and continues to be the world's first and only African diaspora group to be granted diplomatic status, allowing it to carry out revolutionary work in diaspora advocacy at the highest levels of government in Ghana and Africa. Ghana is the only African country that grants African origin people an automatic resident permit under a law passed 20 years ago known as the Right of Abode. Right of abode is similar to an indefinite residence visa. According to the Ghanaian Immigration Act of 2000, a person with the right of abode is free to leave, enter, and leave the nation without restriction. The holder is normally not subject to immigration control and may work without obtaining a work permit. After a few years in the nation, the holder can apply for citizenship. As a result, this law has undoubtedly aided in the resettling of numerous African descendants in the country. Following Ghana's independence in 1957, the country's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, formally invited African descendants to resettle as Ghanaians. Although this was not well received at the time, an increasing number of Black Americans and Caribbean people have moved to Ghana in recent years. They see it as a haven of opportunity and freedom from the stresses of being a Black person in America. According to available statistics from 2014, there were approximately 3,000 African Americans and Caribbeans of African descent living permanently in Ghana. This number is estimated to have increased to over 15,000 in the last 6 years, making Ghana the only country with the largest African diaspora communities. To commemorate 400 years since the first Africans enslaved were carried to the Americas, Ghana announced 2019 as a year of return for African descendants around the world. Celebrities ranging from mid-resettlement Naomi Campbell to U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and 12 members of the Congressional Black Caucus were invited in as part of a massive tourist campaign. The initiative aided in the promotion of Ghana's image abroad, with over 1 million people from the diaspora reported to have visited the country. Ghanaian officials are capitalizing on the uptick by launching a 10-year program beyond the repatriation, which was introduced in June this year, to encourage people to keep their skills and return to Ghana. These successful events have proven to be a powerful motivator for many people who wish to return to Africa. Ghanaian officials say the government is making it easier for foreigners to become citizens and changing the visa process to make the country more accessible to visitors. By 2027, it intends to raise the number of tourists from 1 million to 8 million. Following the President of Ghana's invitation for the African diaspora to return home during the year of return, arrangements were made with local chiefs who gave free lands for the numerator to live in Ghanaian villages. This program has attracted a number of diasporic organizations that are establishing eco-cities across the country. Popular among this initiative is the 5,000 acres of land offered for free by the Asabu town in the western region of Ghana for the formation of the assembled Pan-African village. Ghana is maybe the only African country with a lengthy history of democratic stability and a thriving economy. As a result, it is a safe all-weather travel location. In addition, it is one of Africa's safest countries. While crime is frequent in several other African tourist locations, it is unusual in Ghana, and travelers rarely encounter issues regardless of where they travel. Ghana prohibits the possession of firearms. As a result, gun violence is nearly non-existent. Tourists will find the country to be exceedingly welcoming. This is a country where peace reigns, even during elections. All of this makes the country appealing to many Africans in exile who want to visit or stay on the continent. In all of West Africa, there are only 5 English-speaking countries, which are Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. Of these 5, if one wishes for a safe country, stable democracy, and tourism infrastructure, then Ghana is clearly the place to travel. This has no doubt been a contributing factor in attracting the many African diasporas who are often native English speakers. Ghana is certainly one of the most welcoming countries in Africa, and Forbes magazine once ranked Ghana as the 11th friendliest country on Earth. In 2017, Julia Travel, an online travel service, also gave Ghana recognition for being among the friendliest nations on Earth. There is no other country in Africa that is so welcoming and hospitable. Her people are truly the #1 attraction of Ghana. That's all there is to it. These are some of the main reasons why the African diaspora flocks to Ghana. While Ghana is providing African Americans and other members of the African diaspora the opportunity to relocate to Africa, government officials are urging them to return home and leave a country where they are not welcome. Many people hope that the other 53 African countries will follow Ghana's lead and provide a warm welcome to the estimated 400 million African descendants scattered over the world with talents and money to contribute to the continent's growth. If you enjoyed this video and would like to get more definitive information about trends and mega constructions projects in Africa, subscribe to the New Tourist channel so you don't miss out on any of our future videos.